why do we think young people are not having as much sex as they did 10 years ago?
I think one, porn. Two,
Porn in what way?
porn and self-pleasure. Like I feel like women are now becoming more bold and like in terms of like they actually taking like ownership of their own bodies, and like I feel like women now, instead of like, let's say, running to a guy who's not, you know, taking them serious, they'll actually just rather stay at home and self-pleasure themselves.
I try to have like casual sex, like, and I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll pretend I'm so chill and casual, but in my head I'm like, right, where's the location? You know, like I'm literally obsessed.
It's important if you make it important. I feel like someone's past does matter, but I feel like it only matters to a certain extent. Like if that's your past, and as long as your past is not going to follow you into your present, then just keep it there.
I'll be honest, my favorite part is like the foreplay, and then like afterwards, like the aftercare. I will always take note of how they act after sex.
Hello and welcome to Coming on Top, a podcast that dives deep into the world of sex, love, dating, relationships, and we also touch on the worlds of tech and culture. Each episode, we'll be tackling a different topic, looking at the highs, the lows, and everything in between. All those hard questions that you've always wanted to ask but were too afraid, we'll be answering them on this podcast. In today's episode, we'll be discussing hookup culture in Britain. And helping me to do that, I am joined by two lovely ladies. One of them is a too hot to handle bombshell, and the other, a young lady on a celibacy journey that she often talks about on social media. Welcome, Nicole O'Brien and Maggie Mayhem.
Thanks, I'm excited.
Yes, thank you for coming in, girls.
Hey guys, I can't wait to get into this discussion.
I know, I'm excited.
Now, before we get started, just tell our audience a little bit more about yourselves. I'll start with you, Nicole.
So I was on Too Hot to Handle season 1. So that's about 4 years ago we filmed that. And that completely changed my life. Thought it was going to be, you know, a real, like, just normal dating show. Went in and it was just like, okay, you have meaningless sex, so we're going to put you in here to do, like, conform, like, emotional relationships and, you know, really help you to develop strong emotions for guys instead of just kind of using them in a way. So I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that this show was about that. So that's a bit of a shock, but it helped me a lot and completely changed my life.
Nice. And here you are today.
Here I am today.
And Maggie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, of course, my name is Maggie. I am 23 years old. I'm a content creator and a presenter. And yeah, I'm on a celibacy journey, just discovering life. I'm also a social mover and I'm just enjoying life, basically, like what life throws at me. Yeah.
Fantastic. So before we get into the nitty gritty of it, let's start with my sex fact of the week. So ladies, did you know that according to a survey in 2021, the average amount of sexual partners a UK man has had is 9.8? Now, I'm not sure what the 0.8 means. I don't know if it's like just the tip went in or like, I don't know how you can get the 0.8. What do you think of this?
What, 9.8?
Is the average, yeah?
I think that's low.
Wait, low, yeah.
I think that's not factual.
Do you know what I think? I think if that is true,
right,
lads are clearly lying to make themselves look like the big boy and being like, I've slept with like 50 birds.
Right,
like,
well,
no, you haven't, John. No,
well,
you
okay,
haven't.
so that's what I thought. So because of that, because, you know, they always say like with the man's number, you should half whatever they say. With a woman's number, you should double the number. That's the general rule of thumb. I don't make the rules. That's what they normally say.
I don't think so. I feel like if anything, guys actually don't remember their actual number. I think guys actually give like a rough estimate, but that number actually seems to be true. But I do believe when women do say their number, like add a few, like add 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
Yeah. I agree.
But I do think men genuinely like have that rough estimate number, or they just genuinely don't remember.
Okay, so about 9 to 10 is what apparently. So just have a bit of fun with this. What country do you think had the highest number?
Out of the whole world?
Yeah, of men who said they had the highest number of partners.
In Britain or out of the whole world?
Whole world.
Jamaica.
America.
Right. Actually, those are 2 good guesses because I probably would have said one of the 2.
Yeah.
Turkey.
Turkey?
I was quite surprised as well.
Turkey
has the high.
so
Yeah,
random.
the men in Turkey.
Wow.
Very
now
active,
we know why
apparently.
people go in Turkey for real.
Not just for a nip and tuck, apparently.
Turkey.
Now, on to the mass debate. And today we're talking all about hookup culture in Britain. Is casual sex a good thing or a bad thing? Are we having enough of it or too much of it? And what impact has popular culture had on our desire for no strings attached fun? Ladies, I'm going to throw an open question at both of you. What are your personal attitudes towards sex? I'm going to start with you, Maggie.
I feel like sex is a beautiful thing. I feel like sex, of course, it creates life. It gives pleasure. However, I feel like it's something that's so powerful, however, has been downplayed so much in society nowadays because, again, when you look at pop culture, when you look at songs, films, like, it's so, like, we're so exposed to sex from such a young age. And I feel like the more, like, the years are progressing, like, sex is starting to lose its meaning. And hence, obviously, why we're going to have this conversation. But I feel like it's a powerful thing that's starting to lose meaning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely loses a lot of meaning in today's society because especially with like dating apps and everything, it's just a click of a finger and you could literally have someone in your bed, do you know what I mean? And like when it comes to me, like I always tell myself, oh, I can so do this casually. I'm so fine. I won't catch feelings. Nah, straight away, I'm like obsessed.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you release some hormone, don't you? I think as a woman, like when you have sex, and now you would know more than me. I don't know if that's true or not. My friends have told me that.
Yeah.
But like, I try to have like casual sex, like, and I just can't do it. 'Cause, like, I'll pretend I'm so chill and casual, but in my head I'm like, right, where's the location? You know, like I'm literally obsessed.
Yeah.
But
Now, Nicole, you mentioned that you've been on Too Hot to Handle, and which is one of the most sort of popular dating, love, sort of relationship shows out there. And you mentioned that one of the reasons why they casted you, they said, oh, you know, you like casual sex, and you is it that you use men for sex? Was it?
Kind of like they were just like they were telling me, you know, you have like meaningless hookups and like you never want to look for a relationship and you should want that. So they were like, that's why they cast me.
Okay,
so
all right.
I was like, great guys, thanks so much. I love that.
Okay, so has your approach to dating, maybe sex, changed since being on Too Hot to Handle?
Yeah, my approach has completely changed,
Okay.
which I think is a bit crazy how a reality show made me completely switch how I thought about men and dating.
Right.
Like I used to be a serial dater when I came over to London. Like I'm talking like 3 dates a week with different guys, like constantly dating people. Now I was not sleeping with them, but I was going on dates a lot. And then I didn't really want a relationship. And then like now my approach is that I don't want to have like meaningless sex anymore. Like I actually want to be with someone and like have them care about me and care about them and like be in a relationship.
Yeah.
But I think in London it's so hard to find like a fella or a girl who their head won't turn because like London's such a big dating pool.
Isn't it?
So I found it very hard living here to like try to settle down.
So you're from Cork in Ireland, am I right? Yeah. So moving from somewhere like Cork, small place, everybody probably knows everybody, and then you come to a big city like London. So just going back a little bit to sort of before you did Too Hot to Handle, what was your sort of, I guess, approach to casual sex dating? Was it like a case of we're attracted and like sex is a means to an end, or like what was your general approach to it?
Yeah, it was just like if I'm attracted to someone, they're attracted to me. And if we've like, you know, had a few drinks, why not? Let's just have sex. Do you know what I mean? So it was definitely way more chilled when I was younger. And like now as the years have gone on, I'm like, I'm not really looking for casual sex anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Like I do want a relationship. As I said, it is very hard to find that in London.
So thinking about the times when you were a bit more sort of relaxed about, you know, with approaching sex, do you think that you can still have passionate sex? Can casual sex still be passionate as sex in a relationship? Or is it different?
Do you know what? I used to think like when I first started having sex, I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, you know, I won't be able to have like passionate sex because the feelings aren't really there yet. But throughout the years, I actually do find if you, let's say, go on a few dates with someone, but you're not in a relationship with them or anything, and you're like having sex, but the connection's there. Like passionate sex can happen if there is a connection there. You don't have to be going out with the person for
whether
ages.
it's a one night stand or a long-term relationship.
Yeah, if it's a one night stand and there is a connection there, it will be passionate.
Yeah,
in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, fine. And that physical attraction and that sort of instant connection can just be purely sexual, and that sex can be passionate. Would you say?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, okay. I do think that.
And Maggie, so you're on a celibacy journey.
Yeah.
And is that a new thing? How long have you been on it? Tell us
I've
a
been
little
on my
bit.
celibacy journey all my life.
All your
so
life,
I'm
right.
actually a virgin, never had sex.
Right.
Oh my God,
Love
that's
that.
amazing.
I think it's amazing. Uh-huh.
But I feel like my views as to why obviously I've chosen to be celibate kind of like changed throughout the years. 'Cause I feel like as you grow up, like your reasons of doing certain things changes. So when I was younger, it was more because I was told not to, like it's something that should be kept till marriage because you weren't ready for it. And I feel like
And was that because of religious reasons or cultural reasons?
I think because I grew up with my mum, it was more like culture. Like my mum wasn't a person that really like imposed her religious beliefs. She was Muslim. My dad was Christian. He was actually a pastor. But my mum didn't really like impose religious beliefs, but she did impose culture beliefs. So like just in general, in the culture that I'm from, a woman's supposed to wait until she gets married and blah, 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 blah. But as I grew up as well, even in school, actually, like there was a time whereby like, you know, being sexually free, you would get called a hoe and things like that. So people used to look at me and automatically think that's basically what I was doing. So I think a part of me also like stayed away from doing anything because I didn't want to prove people right. I wanted to prove them wrong instead of proving them right. So growing up, those were my reasons of kind of like being celibate. But when I grew up, I then personally kind of like got my own relationship with God and just realized like sex is just it's much deeper than what basically we see. And that's basically why I started my journey and I'm on it till marriage, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Isn't it?
Pray for me.
Oh, I wish I was like that.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So what sort of what benefit? I'm going to ask you this, Nicole. What benefits do you think are there to be gained through like casual sex or sex with no strings attached? Because there must be some benefits because so many people do it. So you're thinking, what is it that's appealing?
Absolutely none. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I think, I don't know. I think it's like that excitement that you have when you're like texting someone and you get to meet up with someone and it's the attention that you get, you know what I mean? Like, and if there's no strings attached, then you don't have to worry about, you know, getting feelings and, worrying about like what they're doing, where they are, unless you're like me and you get a little bit obsessive. But yeah, I think it's just handy for people to, you know, have sex with someone with no strings attached and not get the feels.
Right.
And it's just a bit of attention.
And speaking of the feels, Maggie, how is it dating when you're celibate? Because if let's say you're dating somebody for a few weeks, months, how do you approach that conversation?
I feel like when it comes, again, in this society, like sex comes up very quickly. Like it's something that, it comes up like within the first few minutes of a conversation. I don't know how it comes up, but somehow it comes up. So in general, I don't actually date a lot. I was in a relationship for 4 years and it was extremely hard because again, like I couldn't do it. However, like I think one thing when you are like approaching like a celibacy journey, you have to make sure you're with someone that can actually do it, because if not, it's already hard as it is by yourself. Like you have feelings, like you get aroused, you get horny. People think because you're celibate you don't get horny, you still get horny. So it's all about self-control. So I think for me, like moving forward, I actually don't like dating because it's like, if you're not trying to marry me, I'm just wasting my time and I'm just getting sexually aroused for nothing. Do you get what I mean? So it's like dating is extremely hard because it's like, how long can I do this for? Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just very difficult. It's just very difficult.
Have you ever been in a situation where you actually fell for somebody that you were dating and then after a while they sort of pulled back because of the sex situation?
No, not that I can think
Or
of.
do you avoid dating altogether?
No, but I feel like, there was actually one guy who I genuinely was interested in. Again, it didn't go anywhere. Like within the first few conversations, it comes up very much quickly. The whole sex thing comes up very much quickly. And he was like, but the thing is, I do respect his honesty. And immediately he told me, I can't be with you because that's something I can't do. And I was actually very gutted because I literally saw like, okay, like you can be, like he was ticking boxes. But obviously on his end, the journey I was on couldn't match his. So he basically let me know that we can't go any further. So that was a bit heartbreaking, but I also know what's for you is for you and it will find you.
Yeah.
So many people in London, girl. You'll find someone, don't you worry.
Absolutely. So do you find that you're then restricted with your dating options, or like is it then easier to just date somebody who's also on a similar journey to you?
I think it's harder because, again, like in this day and age, like it's not a journey that a lot of people are on.
Right.
And on top of that, even those that are on the journey are also struggling. So it's like, I also can't be with someone that's on the journey by words. Like you actually have to be on the journey, because a lot of people say they're trying to wait. Okay, that's something I've been in whereby people have said they're trying to wait. When we get into close proximity, what you said and what you're trying to do is not matching up. So it is very hard to date because you don't find that, especially in men, because of course, like they do have a higher sex drive, and in general, like, their urges are more apparently. So it is harder. So dating is hard, especially when you're trying to date young, because I don't really like dating older guys. Younger guys, they want to have their fun. So it's just, it's the ghetto. Like it's a lot.
It's the projects. Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about body count, and I want both your opinions. Do you think, is it important to know a prospective partner's body count before you date them? Like, okay, Maggie, is that important to you? Like, of course, as somebody who's never been sexually active, if your partner said, you know, I've had 9.8 partners.
I don't think it's that important. I feel like it's important if you make it important. I feel like someone's past does matter, but I feel like it only matters to a certain extent. Like if that's your past, and as long as your past is not going to follow you into your present, then just keep it there. I'm not going to lie. My sister, obviously, she's also celibate, and she actually wants a partner that's sexually experienced, because it's also that I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like I want someone that's going to be able to teach me.
So you don't want it to be like the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, like
one of us have some experience.
One of us has to know what we're doing. Do you get what I mean? So I don't think someone's body count matters. I personally don't. Like, because in general, like, it doesn't really define you, especially if that's your past. Yeah.
And Nicole, what do you think about body count? If a guy was to ask you about your body count, would you be honest about it? Would you think? Because remember we said girls halve and men double. Or does it even matter? Like, would you be confident to say, yeah, I've had X amount of partners?
Like, I will be honest about my body count.
Yeah.
My body count isn't that big,
crazy,
you know?
like.
So, and I will be honest, now a few lads I've said, okay, maybe 2 or 3 less than what it was. But I don't think body count should, as you said, like, define you. And especially, it really annoys me when men get annoyed with women's body count, because I've got a lot of lad friends who will be like, oh, she slept with like 50 people, and I'm like, come here, you've slept with about 300, so why are you saying you won't date this woman now because of that? Like, that's just so hypocritical, and it really boils my blood. So I think it shouldn't matter what your body count is. As you said, it should just matter how you are in the present and like how you want to move forward. So it doesn't bother me with a lad's body count.
I think the only thing I do want to mention, though, I feel like, again, even though it is your past, it still does give a bit of insight into the person you was. Not the person that you are, but the person you was. Once was.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Now, speaking about sort of that gender gap and difference, let's talk about the orgasm gap. So a 2017 survey showed that 95% of heterosexual men reached an orgasm during sex, while only 65% of women did. Is women's pleasure taken seriously? I'll ask you, Nicole.
Absolutely not. No, I feel like a lot of the fellas that I've been with just care for themselves. Like, they just want their orgasm, and I'm just like, come here, hello, like, I'm here too. So I actually think that women's percentage, I would have thought would be lower.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm shocked.
I'm not sure, but
that's like crazy though, because I feel like I'll more than likely orgasm during like foreplay rather than sex. Like, it depends, but like,
and most women do orgasm during foreplay more than penetrative sex. That's a fact.
But yeah, I really thought that would be lower. That's mad.
It is, isn't it? And what do you think about that, Maggie?
I think that number is a bit high, because especially from what I hear. But I think the reason as to why, like, I think women's pleasure is taken seriously, but I just think women don't communicate. Like, I think that's something I heavily hear. Like, women are very shy to say what they want.
Why do you think that might be?
I feel like, again, like, I feel like sex it's a delicate subject. Do you get what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, you're not doing something right. And I think that's why, again, like, I need to be able to trust you in order to tell you that, if that makes sense. I feel like a lot of people are not comfortable enough with their sexual partners to have that type of conversation. I think that's exactly what the problem is. Like, it's a bit weird.
Sense, I feel.
Yeah, and with you, Nicole, would you say sex is usually sort of disappointing for women sometimes, oftentimes?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I'll be honest, my favorite part is like the foreplay, and then like afterwards, like the aftercare. I will always take note of how they act after sex, because I feel like that is so important. If you're just going to roll over and go to sleep, come here. No, that is not okay. You need to cuddle me. We need to be chilling. Like,
So that intimacy part is also part of sex, particularly for women, isn't it?
100%. But yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't know. I think it can be disappointing a lot of the time.
Right.
But I've had like amazing partners where I've been like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
But probably like 6 or 7 out of 10 have been a bit disappointing.
That's quite a high number,
It
isn't
is
it?
quite high. Okay, no, we'll go 6. Let's not be mean. 6.
Let's not be mean to the boys.
Yeah, no, we'll go 6. We'll go 6. But I do think sometimes it is like, as you said about the communication, sometimes I won't say anything because I'll feel like a little bit awkward. And, you know that I should speak up and be like, oh, don't be doing this, do this. But I don't want them to take it in the wrong way and hurt their pride or anything. So I'm just like, I won't say anything.
Just won't say anything. So obviously we are all in the digital age. We're all on social media, and you girls are influencers and you do great stuff on social media. I've had my stalk. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Gen Z generation. So according to a study that was done back in 2021, 18 to 23-year-olds are having 14% less sex compared to young adults a decade prior. Why do you think that might be?
So people are having less sex now?
Because if we think about sort of the pressures on, because remember, Maggie, earlier we were talking about sort of how hypersexualized society is a little bit, and there's a lot of pressure for it. We sort of inundated with so much sexual content, but then actually young people having less sex. So do we think social media has done too much, that they've done the most, and now we've reversed a little bit? Why do we think young people are not having as much sex as they did 10 years ago?
I think one, porn.
Yeah.
Two,
Porn in what way?
porn and self-pleasure. Like I feel like women are now becoming more bold in terms of like they're actually taking like ownership of their own bodies, and like I feel like women now, instead of like, let's say, running to a guy who's not taking them serious, they'll actually just rather stay at home and self-pleasure themselves. So I think that's one thing. And I think another thing is just the decline in even relationships. Like I feel like that's also a major contributor. So I think those are the two reasons why like people are having less sex.
Yeah, I do
Nicole?
agree. I think like porn and stuff 100%. And I think like the dating aspect nowadays, like, I don't know, I just think it's kind of a difficult one because I wouldn't have thought that. So that's like a weird fact that I would have been like, no, because of social media and everything, everyone has everything at the click of a finger.
Right.
So I would have thought the opposite. But I suppose like I do agree with porn 100%. That is definitely one of the major aspects.
So do we think that it's a good thing that younger people are having less sex, or should we be worried?
I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know. That's a bit of a difficult one.
It's a
what do
tricky
you
one.
think?
I feel like it's not a good thing if, let's say, for example, people are not having, let's say, like real relationships because they're now resorting to self-pleasure, because as human beings, like we were made to kind of have attachment with other humans. So I think if the decline is because of that, then I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
If the decline is because, I don't know, women and even just men themselves, like they're not tolerating less anymore, then that's a good thing. Do you get what I mean? I feel like it will be a good thing if that decline is because people are taking a different alternative
Approach.
If
Yeah,
that
I
makes
agree.
sense.
Yeah.
And do we think the cost of living is having an impact on sex and relationships?
What you mean?
So the cost of living, like just, okay, for example, 5 years ago, going on a date would cost you, let's say, 50 quid.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
now everything's so much more expensive that, we're living in a global recession, essentially.
think so.
And does that impact? Yeah? How do you think that does?
I think that like lads sometimes they're like will ask you to come over and like chill and watch a movie more so than like taking you out on a date. Because a few of my lad friends will always say, oh, like I have to go on a date now this week, and that's probably like 150 quid. And then next week I'm meant to be going on another date, that's like another 100 quid. And I'm like, yeah, but would you not split it? Like you don't have to pay for everything, do you know what I mean? But I do think like a lot of people are going down the approach now being like, oh, come over, I'll cook you dinner, I'll watch a movie. I'm like, I know what you have in mind.
Yeah.
You're not fooling me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think the cost of living definitely.
It's having an impact, yeah. And what do you think, Nicole?
Maggie? No,
What do
I
you
don't think
Maggie?
so, because I feel like when I speak to my guy friends, they always say if a girl is on it, she's on it. Like if a girl actually wants to do something, it doesn't take much. Kind of what you said, like if a girl is really interested in a guy, he doesn't have to like take you out and actually spend money on you. Like if girls actually, like sex isn't, I feel like I'm surprised to hear these stats because from what I hear, like sex is so accessible that you don't like. I feel like back in the day you had to do all of that. Nowadays, girls are so liberal. Like if they want to do it, they will do it because they want to, not because you're spending on them or because they care what you say. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I don't know. Like I'm surprised by that, and I don't think the cost of living affects it. No.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about reality TV. Now, of
Yeah.
course, Nicole, I'm going to look at you.
Yeah.
So do you think there's sort of more raunchy reality TV shows like your, Too Hot to Handle or your Love Island? Do you think they overstep the mark when it comes to depicting sex on TV?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Sometimes they overstep the mark. I mean, for instance, there was a challenge that was on Too Hot to Handle on my season that didn't get put in because they wanted to make it more family friendly, but it was basically like...
Family friendly on
Yeah,
Too Hot
I
to
know,
Handle?
I
How?
know. No, guys, you should... A lot of stuff is cut out, okay?
Right, okay, tell us.
There was one where the lads basically were lying down, they had like bananas, and then the girls had to like peel the bananas off with their mouth. Now, I felt so uncomfortable doing that. I did not want to do that challenge. And one of the girls actually stormed off and was like, I'm not doing it. So they actually took it out in the end, but I do think they over-sexualize a lot in those challenges especially.
Yeah.
And, they kind of need to rein it in just a little bit and make it more of a dating show and not just all about the sexual aspect, I do think Too Hot to Handle has done kind of well in terms of like, switching it, being like it's about like emotions and like, they've kind of taken the sexual aspect a little bit further away than sometimes Love Island has done. But they
So
do.
it's almost like they sort of jump on the sex sells mantra
Yeah,
kind of thing. And then once
100%.
they've gotten their audience, then it's like, oh, actually, we now want to make it a little bit classy, a little
100%.
bit more.
So-
but initially, it's that sort of sex, and like and sort of normalizing casual sex. So as a contestant on such a reality show, would you say there's pressure to sort of like to stand out and to do
Yeah.
certain challenges?
So like I had never done reality or any sort of TV before that. Now obviously we went in and I thought it was like Love Island, so we partner up, and then
Right.
after 2 days of them getting kind of us riled up for
Yeah.
that.
Oh, so you didn't know that?
No, we had
Yeah.
no idea. So
So
we
just
thought it was
explain a
pregnant.
little bit to us, just for the listeners who have
I
never
don't
watched
know.
Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah.
Have you watched it before,
No,
Maggie?
so I'm
Okay,
confused.
fantastic. So explain to Maggie
Okay.
how it works.
So basically, they take like 12 single people from around the world,
Okay.
and like in the trailer, they brand us as the horniest people in the world, right? I was like, oh, great, my Catholic mommy at home is gonna love that. Thank you very much. Then they told us not to, expect anything from it, and it's just a dating show. So they have us kind of paired off with each other, and then 2 days in, they say, okay, actually, this isn't what you think it is. This is about, you're not going to have any self-gratification, no sexual contact with anyone, no kissing, etc. There's $100,000 prize money, and anything you do, money will get deducted. So it's about forming emotional, strong relationships without the sexual aspect. So in my head, I'm thinking, my Irish mammy at home is going to love this. This is great. The pressure is off. I don't have to do anything. But essentially, you have like another kind of pressure where, it's like, okay, I really have to let my guard down here and like get in my feels with different things. And it was very intense emotionally, but it helped me out a lot.
So what kind of things would they deduct money from? So it's something like kissing? Would they take
$3,000.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I've
$3,000.
never had a kiss worth $3,000. I'll tell you that.
Honestly, yeah, $3,000.
Wow.
If you were to have sex, $20,000. The amount of arguments I got in that villa, I tell you now. I was like, you cost me $20,000. That is not okay. Yeah.
Maggie, you would fly through that.
Yeah, honey.
I would take all that money home.
Yeah, you make it bang.
Wow. So then they're using sort of playing sex and money, which apparently
Yeah.
are the two most powerful tools, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And how much money was deducted, just out of interest from your series? How much money did the winner walk away with?
So we actually all ended up splitting it.
Okay. And how many contestants?
There was 10 at the very end, so
Right.
2 got eliminated.
Right.
But yeah, we were down to I think about $40,000 at one stage, but we won money back by doing different challenges. So it was $75,000 split between 10 of us, which was grand. I think it's about 7.5K, which was nice.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
Yeah.
So, but over the last like 2 seasons, 1 or 2 people will win that money. So
Oh,
I'm
fine.
like, damn it.
Also, yeah. So 10 of you
yeah,
must
yeah.
be part of the 14%, I guess.
Yeah,
so they can
yeah,
hold it together.
exactly.
Now, speaking of, reality TV shows as well. So Naked Attraction, is a modern dating show, and they're sort of not shy about being real that, you know, a physical attraction. Do we both know naked attraction? Yeah. So they're not shy about being honest that, physical attraction is important. So the whole thing about the show is about attraction first and how you look naked. Do you think that that's a good or a bad thing?
What, the show in general?
No, just the idea that actually physical attraction is important. Like,
yes,
yeah?
I do think physical attraction is important. I think I used to think that it was like 80% looks and like 20% personality, like years and years ago.
But
now I'm like, it has to be maybe 40% looks, 60% personality, or 50-50 for me anyway. I have to be sexually attracted to you.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, sometimes that can grow, of course. But how I work is if I see you and I know myself, I have to fancy them straight away.
Yeah.
I'm not a grower.
No.
I'm not a grower. I know straight away.
Yeah. Maggie, is it hard for you if you do meet somebody that you really do fancy, and then and then of course you can't take it to that next level?
No, it is hard, but I feel like just because it is hard, I'm still heavy on physical attraction, because I feel like initially physical attraction attracts you, but then personality keeps you. And again, like, I need to make sure that the person I'm looking at, like, when it comes down to the day when we're doing it, I need to actually be looking at the person thinking like, wow, you look good, you get it. So I think physical attraction is important, but it's not the end all be all, because somebody can be physically attractive, but their personality can literally make them look very ugly. Like, do you get what I mean? But I think that being said, it's still very important. However, it's just not. It's not.
You can't build a relationship on that foundation alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, both of you are obviously very beautiful young ladies, and you've got good followings on social media, and I've stalked you both, like I said. So you must get lots of male attention on social media. Do you find that social media makes it easier for casual sex to happen? Like the whole sliding in the DMs, and especially if you've been like on a TV show and people see you off the back of that, do you then get sort of some unwanted attention or wanted attention through social media?
I actually find, right, that I got more male attention before my following and before TV.
That's interesting.
Now it's like young girls and like teenagers and stuff who will interact with me and ask me different questions and stuff.
Right.
But before I did TV, I was getting these footballers, these DJs, blah, 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 all these people in my DMs. Yeah. And now it's drier.
Yeah. Really?
Which I actually talked to a lot of the Love Island girls about this, and they were like, we're all the same. We just don't. Yeah.
I'm quite shocked by that.
Yeah,
See,
I
would have thought.
Like that.
Yeah, I would have thought it would have been the other way around.
No, it's the other way around. Like I was like, okay, great, lads. Twat handles
I'm well in there. Yeah.
I'm gonna get so many DMs from Fitty McFitties. No, rarely. Yeah.
What is it? Do you think? Like, why do you think that is the case?
I think, like, what I've been told from fellas is that they can find it quite intimidating sometimes if there's a girl who has a large following and who's very outspoken and isn't that private about things. Because I will share my whole life on social media. I mean, that is essentially my job, and I'm a very open person. But I do think that lads, and I've got a lot of lads in the industry, and they will not date girls in the industry. They want a girl who is very low-key, very quiet. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Why do you want that?
Do you think it's a confidence issue from their side?
Sometimes, yeah. I do think that. I think it's like they want to be the alpha, and they want to be, you know, the breadwinner and the big one in the relationship. So I think that they get intimidated by girls like who have following and stuff like that. So
do you think for men it is almost off? Yeah. Do you think it's almost off-putting?
Yeah.
If they see a girl on social media and then their first assumption is, oh, she must have loads of guys in the DMs. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I even went on a date last week, right? And the fella was like, oh, you must get so many DMs from like footballers and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And in my head I was like, oh, honey, I don't. But I'll let you think that I do, because I don't know. But yeah. So they must think that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, ladies. So let's end with a quick fire quiz. So according to our very own audience, we asked, would you ever consider an open relationship? What percentage of them do you think said yes? And what percentage do you think said no? Now, whoever gets the closest answer comes out on top. I'll start with you. Let me start with you, Maggie.
So I think 30% said no. And then what's the other 70 said
70?
Yeah.
So you said 30% said no.
Yeah.
They wouldn't consider an open relationship. And 70% said yes.
No,
sorry.
70% said no. 30% said yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Is this men
Nicole?
and women?
Men and women.
Okay. I'm going to go with 40% yeah, 60% no.
So the person who has come out on top today is, to the exact percentage, by the way, Maggie.
Yay! Come on, girl.
30% of our audience said yes, they would consider an open relationship, and 70% said no.
Yeah.
And why do we think 30% is a high number of people who want to be in an open relationship?
Yeah, kind
Or
of.
low number?
I think it's an okay number. Like it's an expected number.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you guessed
it's
it quite
an
right.
expected number. I feel like a lot of people like are just like they've got to a point where it's like it is what it is. I'd rather just be in an open relationship. That's an expected number. People being honest about it. So yeah. It's an expected number.
I could never do that though. I'm too
No?
jealous.
No.
Why would you not be open to an open relationship?
I just feel like I would get a bit jealous. Like I am kind of a jealous person,
Yeah.
but I will never be toxic about it. Like I will be chilled, but on the inside, I'll be jealous.
Yeah, you're a little bit
But-
territorial. I don't think that's a
yeah.
negative, as long as it's not, like you
No.
said, toxic.
But sometimes then though, like, you know, if you're in like a 15-year long relationship and whatnot, you want to spice it up and you trust each other, then I'm like, maybe.
No. I feel like in order to get to a place whereby you can allow like your person to go with someone else, I feel like there's a level of brokenness that you've got to, and it's like you're actually even content in your brokenness. I don't know if you get what I mean, like your trust. Like I feel like a lot of people that accept like open relationships have been broken to the point whereby it's like I'm not even gonna try heal myself. Like I don't even think I even deserve better. I don't know. I feel like it comes from a place of brokenness because it's like why? Like you deserve better than that.
So you
Yeah,
think
I
people
suppose,
sort of
yeah.
settle for their situations and they say, okay, well, actually, instead of starting from scratch, let me just introduce maybe a new person in
Yeah.
a casual way
Yeah.
to sort of, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think men and women can separate love and sex in a similar way, or do you think it's very different?
Men can love can't. Women can't.
Men can separate
Yeah.
sex from emotion. Maggie?
I don't think a man can. I feel like if a man genuinely loves you, it's not even about separating the sex and the relationship, but it's even like I think it's more than just the sex, because it's like yes, you're having sex with one person, but it's like me and you having sex is still gonna have an effect on you. So it's like because I know the effect this is gonna have on like my partner, I can't separate it. So I think if a man genuinely loves a woman, he can't go sleep with someone else and say it was just sex, because your just sex has left me broken. And if you really cared about my feelings, you wouldn't do that. Like you're having this situation going on and then you're not even thinking about the person you love at all.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it don't make sense. I don't think a man can separate sex and love.
Men will never make sense, honey. I've got no idea what's going on in their heads.
Well, there's a saying that
honestly.
goes, and let me try and remember this now. It says, women who are happy don't cheat, whereas men, I'm just making this up, whereas men would cheat because it's a Wednesday. So basically the idea is that a man can be very happy and content in his relationship, but will still find time to
I agree.
have, yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I've got friends who've done it and I've killed them over it.
Yeah.
Like lad friends. I'm like, why, you're so happy though. And they're like, yeah, I know. It was just so stupid. I don't know why I did it. I'm like, because you think with your dick. Like, it's just so annoying.
Yeah.
Men just do it all the time. Well, not all the time. And
But
not all
a
men,
lot,
but
often.
Often.
More than women,
More than women, I think, yeah.
if we're generalizing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
don't
no, I want to
know,
hear your
yeah.
perspective on this,
I don't
Maggie.
know. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Do you know what, actually? Do you know what? Cheating comes down to one thing, actually. It's self-control. Actually, so maybe it's true. I think men can still cheat even though they're happy just because they lack self-control. I think it's literally that point blank. So men just don't have self-control. And I think that's why me personally, I'm so pro-celibacy, even outside religion, because it teaches you to practice self-control. Because it's like, if you can't practice how to control yourself now, don't think when you get married the urges go away. And I think a lot of people don't know that. People like date, and I feel like that's why I also don't really like dating that much, because you learn the habit of, okay, if I meet a guy and I don't like him, I leave him. I meet another guy, I don't like him, I leave him. You develop that habit of, if I see something I don't like, I leave. And when you come into even like marriage and you don't like something your partner's done, you don't know how to work through it, the first thing you do is leave. So I think men in marriage, because they've lived a life that doesn't require self-control, when they get into marriage, the woman is good, the marriage is happy, the first thing they know how to do, you go back to your natural instinct, which is...
You revert back to your old ways of it.
Exactly. So there's no self-control, so I can just do what I want to do. So you're right, actually. Yeah, you're right.
So Maggie, you talk about, of course, being celibate, and you talk about it in your social media, don't
Yeah.
you? Because I have a good understanding into the sort of the spiritual side of
Yeah.
things. So spiritual spouses, spiritual soul ties.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe we need more influencers to talk about celibacy? Because there's so much sort of positive content out there about sexual liberation. Of course, which is good because, you know, there needs to be representation for everybody who thinks in different ways, I think. But I think when it comes to celibacy, I just don't see as many young women or men actually being open and talking about it, but also like even just being embraced when it comes to, because I do a lot of sex education, and I always say this is for everybody, whether you've never had sex before or whether you have sex every day. Sex, that conversation should be open to everybody. So do you think the sex industry can do a lot more to be inclusive of people who choose to be celibate?
No, 100%. Like, even going back to even like influencers that are celibate, I only know one other person other than me. And I think it's very important, like when we're talking about sex, to also talk about things like celibacy, because we talk about sex is good and all of these things, but we need to also talk about like, okay, as much as sex can be good, they still like, not that there's rules, but there's a way that we can go about it, if that makes sense. Because I feel like if we only highlight the good things that come from sex and we don't highlight the bad things that can potentially come from somewhere, it's like we're kind of just giving people like a one way. How can I explain it? It's like we're leading people to a one-way stream and not telling them the possible dangers that can come along it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the sex industry do need to open up and have discussions about, okay, because not having sex is part of still having sex. I don't know. If it's all inclusive, and I think it's very important. Like it has to be a balanced
points of view. Yeah. Fantastic. And Maggie, no,
I do think that like it's like I agree that sex is very kind of put on a pedestal, and like it's like oh my god, like we had sex, like, or I'm gonna have sex tonight, blah blah blah, and everyone's like, yeah, go on. Do you know what I mean? But like there are negatives to it. Like obviously you've got like, you know, STIs and stuff. That's a massive negative that I don't think people talk about enough. Like I think like, and like they are so common, but like people don't talk about that side at all.
I feel like before people engage in sex, I feel like people have to become like emotionally, they need to be emotionally stable to have sex. Reason being is because these conversations are important. For example, if I'm telling a guy like wear a condom, you have to be like emotionally grown. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you have to be like mature enough to understand, okay, like I'm asking you to do this because of my protection.
Yeah.
And I remember I even asked my friends, guys, like, yeah, cool, you guys are having sex, but like before you guys even get with a partner, have you asked them like, what are your results like? And they're like, they don't feel comfortable having that conversation. I said, okay, but then I don't think then you should be having sex. If you can't have the conversation.
I actually had that conversation with a fella who I slept with, who I was dating. And before I slept with him the first time recently, I said, look, after, like, I get tested if I sleep with someone, if the condom was not used, like, I'm always clean. So just want to make sure you're the same. And he didn't really say anything, but like, and I was thinking, I wonder if he is or not. And
because you're thinking, well, you're a bit blasé about
this. I think it is important to be very open and to ask those questions.
Yeah,
and,
so
like,
you told him, look, I had a screen, my results were negative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think being open and being honest about all that is very important. But it is a bit taboo, isn't it? But it shouldn't be.
No.
It really shouldn't.
It shouldn't be.
I feel like if it feels taboo, then you shouldn't. Like, if I feel scared to ask you that question, I shouldn't expose myself. Like, because I feel like sex, you're really exposing your whole self to someone. You shouldn't have the access to me if I can't have access to that information. That's just information.
I think that's a fair exchange.
Yeah.
Right. So
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. I'm empowered today now.
No, honestly, like, if you can't share that information, I can't share myself with you because
Well, then you're going to be wondering, well, why? Why don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But people find it intrusive. Like, I think even if people
are almost offended sometimes.
Exactly.
People, and you know, they'll come in and they'll say, oh, how do I ask my boyfriend or my girlfriend if they've had a test, or will they get a test? And they're almost afraid of offending them by asking, because there's this implication in their eyes that they're calling them, they're implying that they're maybe sleeping around or doing something negative, and there's a lot of negative connotation around that when there really shouldn't be. It just shows us, it just shows that you are a responsible adult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Ladies, I would like to thank you for coming on the show today. You were both absolutely wonderful.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was so fun. I loved it.
It was great. Let our audience know where we can find you. Come on, Nicole.
So Instagram, Nicole.ob, and Nicole O'Brien Official on TikTok.
You can find me on all my social media platforms. That's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Maggie Mayhem _.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and leave a review on wherever you're listening or watching. Stay tuned for more juicy bits.